From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew.
Hello and welcome to episode 143 of the Blind Android Users Podcast. I'm Ed Green and I'm joined today by my co-hosts Warren Carr, Austin Pinto, Doug Cameron, Fee Dunn and Sally Kunders. And we are coming to you on Saturday, the 2nd of September, 2023. It's another busy one for you this week. In our Android Basics section, we continue our look at Samsung, and Warren shows you how to set up a Samsung phone running Samsung One UI. In our Spotlight section, following the unboxing of the OnePlus 10T from last week, Warren reviews that phone. In our App of the Week section, Mike Bernard shows us the Nearby Share app on Windows in conjunction with your Android phone. And we close with our Tip of the Week, where John Dyer shows you how to install Google Assistant on a Galaxy Watch. Well, how are we all doing this week? Sally, what's going on in Samsung's Fair City?
Well, Ed, I cannot believe it's September because when I moved to Samsung, it was already May and it's September right now. Time really flies so high. I'm so emotional today.
And you've just sold your goalkeeper to Manchester United.
Yeah, it's even worse. Yeah. And how are you?
I'm well, yeah. All is well in London. First week back of work after a couple of weeks off, so all is good. Thank you. Dugaboo, what's going on in Alberta?
A whole lot of nothing. It's for the end of August, beginning of September is pretty weird time right now. So it's not too bad, but pretty slow.
Not on fire or anything, though. It's kind of
no, we're not. But
down.
BC, British Columbia, and Northwest Territories are still flaming pretty bad. And we got a lot of smoke right now in the air from the Northwest Territories. So
yeah, not good. Warren, what's going on in Washington State?
Doing well. We've been on a cool down, but something I want to mention is that actually last week, Ed, you said the date correctly, and today you made a mistake and said it the British way. What's up with you? Yeah.
I know which one was the mistake, and it's not this week.
And last week, I'm like, there, my boy finally got around. And this week, you went back into the hole. What's the deal?
I think something has happened. Some weird 5G thing has implanted a chip in my head. That someone has done something to me and turned me North American last week.
But yeah, no, we're doing well. And, my heat came on this morning for some reason because, it's in eco mode and it was cold enough outside, I think. So it came on. I'm like, oh, no, turn it off, So, but today, actually, we're warming up today. I think we're going to be like 80 degrees or 84 degrees. I don't know. But from, like 62 degrees the other day, it's just kind of up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Austin, how's it going in Mumbai?
Things are going on very good. And it's the biggest rivalry of all, India versus Pakistan. So that match was like a seesaw. So we were 60-4, and then we recovered very nicely. And the end also was very down. It was going down. And now the rain has spoiled everything. So I think we may have a reduced target and reduced overs. I hope the match does not get cancelled.
And the World Cup's not
but
far away.
Who is winning? Austin, because I know.
Right now, we cannot say anything because India finished their batting and Pakistan has not even started batting.
Well,
so by tomorrow, you should know.
I was saying that I was rooting for Pakistan. I want them to whoop you this time. So let's see what happens.
And iPhona, are you here? How are you?
I am here, yes. I disappeared momentarily because somebody dinged my doorbell, then just decided to put the Amazon delivery through the letterbox, and so they needn't have disturbed me anyway. Silly people. Yeah, London's good, as you said, Ed. It's a nice day. It's really sunny and lovely today. Really beautiful. So I'm quite glad about that, because we had a hell of a thunderstorm last Saturday, and after that it seemed like summer had gone, and now we were in autumn, but it seems to have come back for a little while, and that makes me happy. So
Yeah,
that's very good.
First half of September is normally good. Anything exciting from Amazon?
Yeah, but it's for my iPhone, so I better not talk about it.
Naughty, 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 naughty.
I would-
Naughty iPhone.
If there was such a device for an Android phone, I'd buy it straight away, but it doesn't exist, unfortunately, which is a real
Probably
shame.
does. Bet it does. And I bet it's
What are you
It's,
talking about,
it-
my dear?
It's a Sennheiser smart headset where there are microphones on the headphones, so you can record stereo the way you would hear it. And I've never
why
heard
wouldn't
of
it work
such a
with
thing for an. It doesn't. It just the adapt. The lightning thing is the wrong, because it goes
Well,
into
just
the
change it.
lightning. I've tried an adapter and it didn't
Why
work.
would you get that when even Fruitvale is switching to a USB-C? You should have gotten a USB-C instead of a stupid lightning thing.
You can't get one at the moment. It doesn't exist.
But then,
I'm
what?
sure there must be an Android headset that does that.
Yeah, there has to be.
Yeah, they have lots of
well,
those.
one of you can find it and tell me, and I'll get one and I'll do a demo for you all.
All right, we forgive
It
you,
might be a
Fee.
Sony.
You're naughty, but we forgive you because you're still the
Yeah.
pretty one anyhow.
Well,
it's all
you
said
see,
and done.
because the Android phone has lovely stereo mics, but you have to walk around with a phone in your hand. And you see, the reason I like this is you can put your phone in your pocket and still record stereo.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there must be a connectable headset that will record stereo on Android.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
I had one from Razer that could do that. But anyway,
maybe our listeners can tell us if there's one.
If I remember correctly, there's actually a Sony headset that does it. It's one of their $400 or $500 headsets, but I'm pretty sure it does that.
Oh, and if it's that much, I'm not going to buy it, and someone can buy it for me. I'm not going to spend that much money on that.
John has the Corsair headset, but it's like $150 or whatever. It does that. That's what he uses on the podcast every week. It does stereo recording.
I'll have to ask him then. Yeah, I had one already of these, but I broke it because I used it so much. The connector went a bit wrong, so I bought a new one today.
Yeah.
This is the announcement segment of Blind Android Users podcast. Stay tuned to hear important information regarding the podcast, surveys, and the latest news.
So do we have any announcements this week? I think you might do, Sally. What do we have?
Okay, for this week, I'm taking over Austin. I'm not sure who is going to win India or Pakistan, but we are delighted to announce that version 7 of Accessible Android has been released. This is the biggest release that we were working for a real long time. We focused on speed and overall performance, so we work 4 times faster, and we really give you 4 times faster performance on your phone, what phone you're using, basically if you're running under 13. And if you want to say anything, just simply shout out to us, info@accessibleandroid.com, and we'll be replying to you shortly. Thank you.
Nice, and it's a great app, and there is obviously the website that you'd have divined from that email address. So people have said to us, people have said to Sally, why is that an app when people might not know how to use Android? Well, obviously it wasn't to start with. It was and still is a website. So it's great for the written resources. Not everyone can do a podcast. This podcast does not lend itself to transcription. So Accessible Android is the partnership, the other side of that.
And I can totally tell you that, not everyone can listen to the podcast because of the data limitations in the places where they live. So this source is really good for those who can just go and read the things using their Android phones. with really low bandwidth.
This is Android Basics, in which we bring you up to date on the things that you should know to use your Android phone.
Now we turn to our Android Basics section, and it's picking up something we talked about a couple of weeks ago, which was starting to have a look at Samsung, where we looked at the history of Samsung and what they did. And now we're getting into Samsung One UI. And Warren brings us a demo of how to set up a Samsung phone.
Let's go ahead and start by looking at the first screen that you come to where you enable accessibility. And then if you're running anything that is less than One UI 5.x, that is based on Android 13, if anything lower than that, even including the Galaxy S22, which came out of the factory with the One UI 4.x, you're not going to be able to hear your passwords without tapping on accessibility and going to enable the ability to hear your passwords. So that's something to keep in mind if you're running anything that is running something other than One UI 5.x. I am showing you this. We are on the screen now. I have reset my Galaxy S21. And of course, this one is going to be able to let me hear the passwords spoken because I had updated to the One UI 5.x. I am now on the setup screen, and what I will do now is to see if the trusted method of holding down two fingers on the screen to enable accessibility works or not, or if I needed to do the up and down volumes or the power and the up volume to enable accessibility. Let me now go ahead and put down my two fingers on the face of the phone.
To turn on accessibility mode, continue holding the screen with two fingers until you hear a beep. Talkback on. Welcome to Talkback. Welcome to Talkback. Page 1 of 5. Talkback is a screen reader intended for situations or people who have difficulty seeing the screen. It gives you spoken feedback so that you can use your device without looking at the screen. You can turn Talkback on or off by holding both volume keys for several seconds. When Talkback is on, the focused item on the screen is spoken out loud. Swiping right will move to the next item, and swiping left will move to the previous item. Swipe right now.
Okay, so you heard what it says. I'm going to tap on the close.
Close button. Close tutorial. You can come back to it anytime in Talkback settings.
So in other words, all I'm doing is closing the Talkback tutorial.
Close button. Allow Talkback to make and manage phone calls. Allow button. Double tap to
So
activate.
the first thing we heard is whether or not we'll allow Talkback to manage phone calls. In other words, if there's a phone call coming in, it will let you know that there's a phone call coming in. And it's totally up to you. I most of the time have mine set to don't allow. Now for this tutorial, however, we're just going to say allow.
Samsung Setup Wizard. Welcome.
All right, so here we are. And so if you were on some other Samsung phone that has anything less than One UI 5.x, at this point, you want to find the accessibility and tap on it. And now I'm going to tap on accessibility, which is found near the bottom.
Accessibility. Accessibility. Talkback. Double tap to
Tapping
activate.
on accessibility, we heard Talkback. So Talkback is highlighted. Now, if you have some visual capabilities and you want to customize how you see things on the screen, then you can look below here because we've got
Visibility enhancements. Heading.
And below that, we've got
Not selected. Default button. 1 of 3 and list 3 items.
there's default, and
Double
to the
tap
right
to
of that,
activate. Not selected. High contrast. Button. 2 of 3.
there's the high
Double
contrast.
tap to activate.
And then the last item there,
Not selected. Large display. Button. 3 of 3.
you could
double
choose
tap to
large
activate.
display. Now moving on, we got
Color inversion. Out of list.
color
Double tap to
inversion.
off. Color inversion. High contrast keyboard.
You could
Double
change
tap
that
to
as well.
off. High contrast screen zoom. Font size. Magnification. More visibility enhancements.
And you could continue
tap
and
to
choose
activate.
those if you have some visibility needs. Now, the one though that I want to focus on here is the ability to hear passwords, because by default, if you have a device that is running Android 13 or higher, Samsung has made it possible to where you don't need to go into TalkBack and turn on accessibility or the ability to speak passwords. But if you are running something lower than that, you need to tap on TalkBack to go enable that. So I'll tap on TalkBack and show you what I'm
Screen
talking
off.
about. I'm going to turn back on my screen
Screen on.
and
Accessibility.
let's tap on
More
TalkBack.
visibility. TalkBack. TalkBack. Navigate up button. Double tap to
We are
activate.
in
Double tap and
TalkBack
hold to
now.
long press.
And what I'm going to do is to tap on the settings of TalkBack. If you're a swiper, you can just swipe till you hear settings, for example,
TalkBack.
and you swipe.
TalkBack on. Switch. TalkBack shortcut. Hold volume up and down keys. Press side and volume up keys. 2 of 4 in list 4 items. Double tap to activate.
So in other words, what you are being told here is that besides that holding down of the two fingers that we did earlier, if you had wanted to, you could have just held down the up volume and the power button to enable accessibility. Now, let's move on to settings.
On. TalkBack shortcut. Switch. Settings. 3 of 4. Double tap to activate.
Now, here's settings, and this is where we tap on to go change the ability to speak passwords if you're running anything lower than One UI 5.x.
TalkBack settings. Navigate up button. Out of list.
And
Double tap to
here,
activate.
we need to
Double
go
tap and
down
hold
to the
long
bottom and tap on Advanced. It could be that lower versions of Android, or rather lower versions of TalkBack, may have the ability right in here to speak passwords, but you need to go tap on Advanced at the bottom.
Advanced settings.
Tap
14 of
here.
14. Advanced settings. Navigate up button. Out of list.
And here
Double
in the
tap to
Advanced,
activate.
we got
Double
the
tap and
following.
Speak passwords. Passwords always spoken on. Switch. 2 of 11 in list 11 items.
So here by
Double tap to
default,
activate.
that would have been off. So that's one thing you need to pay attention to. Of course, if you don't want that, you could always use a headset. But by default, you need to make sure you turn that on if you're running anything lower than One UI 5.x. Now let's go back.
Developer settings. 11 of a back button. Up. TalkBack setting. Back button. TalkBack. How to use TalkBack button. Double tap to activate.
We're back here to this screen, and I'm going to go in here.
TalkBack settings. Navigate up button. Out of list. Double tap to activate. Double tap and hold to long press.
I'm going to turn that usage hints so that we're not being too verbose here.
Verbosity. 3 of 4. Verbosity. Speak usage hints. After describing content, suggest how to use on. Switch. 3 of 16. Double tap to activate.
So if that bothers you, you turn it off like I'm going to do right now.
Off.
And let's go back.
Use back button. TalkBack settings. Back button. TalkBack. How back button.
Back again.
Accessibility.
And
Talk-
back again.
Back button. When Samsung Setup Wizard. Accessibility.
So we're back on the main setup screen. Now we need to tap on the
Start button.
now, if you want to choose a different language, right above that start button is the language selector.
English.
By default, mine is set to English. And so if I tap here, for example,
Selected. Radio button. English in list. Select language.
we got a lot of,
Not selected. Radio button. Espanol. Not selected. Radio button. Francais. Not selected. Radio button. Italiano.
so you can go through this and choose your language. There's a bunch of them here. I'm going to hit the back button again.
Back button. Out of Samsung Setup Wizard. English.
And below that is that start button.
Start button.
Let's hit start and get going.
Insert a SIM card to connect to a mobile network. For your review, I agree to the Samsung terms and conditions, including the arbitration terms and the dispute resolution agreement.
So here we got some agreements, and also it's also talking about the SIM card and all of that. And so now for your review, we got to accept some agreements here. We got checkboxes.
I agree to the Samsung terms and conditions, including the arbitration terms and the dispute resolution agreement.
So you could check that if you agree.
This includes your agreement that Samsung may update your phone software automatically from time to time to ensure the safety, security, and functionality of your phone.
Okay, so
I
I'm
agree
going
to the
to check
Samsung
that one.
terms and conditions. Checked.
Next, we come across.
I agree to the Samsung privacy policy.
So in other words, you could check this, and if you want to read the details of it, below that it will say details.
Details.
But now though, let's tap on
I agree to the Samsung
I agree.
privacy. Checked.
And then next we got.
I agree to the sending of diagnostic data to Samsung. Optional.
So this one is optional. You don't need to check it. And I'm going to leave it as. And then below that we got.
Details. Agree to all. Optional.
There's agree to all optional. And now I'm just going to tap on agree at the bottom right.
Agree. Button. Wi-Fi. Choose a Wi-Fi network. Heading.
Here we are now talking about choosing a Wi-Fi network, and I'm going to show you that the passwords are spoken.
The mesh, 1 of 11 in
Here's
list.
the mesh.
Enter password. The mesh.
And I'm going to
Password,
show you
enter
a
password.
few of my passwords.
Shift off. Symbols. Expression. Apostrophe. Pound. At.
You hear that?
Dash. Space bar. Up quote. Apostrophe. Quote. Colon. Semicolon. Comma. Left parent. Ask ampersand. Equals sign. One-handed. The mesh. Out
Now,
list.
if you did not enable that, the speaking of passwords, all you would be hearing is bullet, bullet, bullet. So I'm going to put in my Wi-Fi password, and then we'll continue.
Connect. 4 of 4 in list. 4 items. Window the mesh.
I just typed in my password, and now connect.
Keyboard hidden. Samsung Setup Wizard. In progress. Progress bar. Out of list. Getting your phone ready. This may take a few minutes. Service. Hey Google, model update. Updating voice model to better recognize when you say Hey Google.
Now, while we're waiting, there's something I want to mention here in passing. That is, if you're not
Just a
sure
few
as to whether or
moments.
not your language
Copy
is
apps and
supported,
data. Heading.
it's always important
apps and
to
data.
not put in a SIM card, because if you put in a SIM card and your language is not supported, then you may wind up not hearing any TTS output. Just go ahead and set it without the SIM card in there and just set it up using Wi-Fi. Now, let's proceed from here.
You can choose to transfer your apps, photos, contacts, Google account, and more.
All right, I'm going to tap on next.
Next button. Use your old device. You need your old Android, iPhone registered sign, or iPad registered sign device.
Now, you could do that, using the cable and newer Samsung device. You could even use like a Wi-Fi and all of that. Now, if you don't want to do that, you could skip that and say, hey, I'm just going to sign in and bring my account info from the cloud.
Can't use old device.
So
Button.
in this case, I'm going to tap, I can use all device.
Checking info. Account setup.
And by the way, this is using the Samsung TTS as a default.
Sign in with your Google account. Learn more. Sign in.
All right.
Sign in with your
So
Google
I'm going to
account.
sign in with my
Learn
Google
more.
account.
With your Google account. Edit box, email. Edit box, email or phone. English, US, QWERTY shown.
And I'm going
Expand
to
toolbar.
put in my username and password. So from on here, you're just following the setup prompts and all of that, and go ahead and finish that. I'm not going to bore you with all of that, but I'm just going to finish setting it up, and then we'll look at the launcher.
Samsung Setup Wizard. You're all set up. Finish button.
There we go. I'm all set up. I'm going to tap on finish at the bottom.
Finish button. Device unlocked. Home. Got an eSIM mobile plan. Tap here to add your eSIM to your phone. Wi-Fi is required. Weather. Double tap and drag to move in pager. Syncing's about to start. Your apps will sync and be backed up so they stay up to date on all your Samsung devices.
Now, what I want to mention here in passing, however, is that unlike Google or Pixel phones, whereupon when you are done setting up the device and you are on the home screen, you'll immediately see those customizations that you had, that you imported or restored. It is not quite the same with Samsung. It has to finish importing it,
Finish setting up your Warren's
from
S21. Just a few more steps.
Galaxy's settings or Galaxy Store.
Screen off.
So right now, my screen is not looking like what I had prior to resetting the device, but it will be there. So if you come here and you're seeing something else, just be patient with it. So here I am on my home screen. Of course, it's setting up my apps and all of that. But I do want to mention here in passing that at the bottom, of course, you're going to find your dock, and just above that dock, you'll find where it talks about pages. So if you have several pages on your home screen, you'll find something that says page 1 of X, and you can move your finger and tap on the second page or the third page. Now that could be a little bit tricky because they're very close to each other. But I just suggested simply swiping from right to left with 2 fingers to move to the next page. But here's what I'm talking about. Right now, though, it's not going to show us many pages because it hasn't finished restoring my stuff yet. But right here above the dock area is where you'll find that. And in this case, though, it's just going to say page 1 of 1.
Page 1 of 1, default page.
And there we heard page 1 of 1, default page. And we'll talk about how to change pages. Like I said, you just swipe right or left to move to the next page, and then swipe from left to right to move to the previous page. If you don't want to find that little strip there between your icons and the dock to find which page to tap on to move on to. I'll now hand this back to the podcast crew.
And Warren, was that your S21 that you were doing that on, I'm assuming?
I did. And of course, that was with the One UI 5.x. Now, if it was One UI 4.x that it came out of the factory with, of course, the passwords and all of that would not have been spoken. I would have had to go in the way I was showing to enable that from the accessibility or the talkback settings or whatever voice assistant if you're on an older device. So it's Samsung. For some reason, Samsung never follows whatever Google tells Samsung. Samsung does the other thing because they're the big boys in the room and they can afford to do whatever they please. And so as of Oreo, everybody's setup would be to speak the password right away, but only Samsung said, nah, we're not going to do it that way until that 5.x when they finally came around. So if you got an older device or if you got a phone that maybe is like a 4.x, One UI 4x, you'll have to follow that procedure I was talking about.
I remember setting up my S21 FE. It came with 4.1, and it was the case. I could never enter my password. That was a real trouble. I'm glad now it's fixed.
If you have an S21 running, S21 FE running 4.x, and then it gets an update running 5.x, and you system reset it, what will it be running when it comes back up? Will it reset to its 4.x state, or will it reset to its 5.x state? It will reset to 5. Yeah.
Yeah. 5.
Yeah.
I tested and approved.
It'll be 5.x, but even if you set up, for example, like the Galaxy S22, out of the factory, it's going to come with 4.x, and so you're not going to hear that password spoken.
And a headset will fix it, won't it? So if it is not speaking your password, attaching a headset will fix that, won't it?
Absolutely.
Even if you haven't hit the accessibility button, plugging in a headset will
exactly. Just like it used to be in the olden days, you had to have a headset in order to get that process going through.
Yeah. We'll get on to some of the Samsung advantages, but while we're talking about, I guess, setup and related things, I do like the fact you have 2 accessibility hardware shortcuts.
Yeah, Samsung excels in that department.
I just love that we're now in a time where, like when I was setting up my phone, I just had to put 2 fingers on it to make it, because I remember the days when TalkBack wasn't even on your phone, you know. You had to get someone to help you install it and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I mean, I guess it's the same for Google phones as well, but
And
I do
in
like
those
that.
days, you were putting 2 fingers up at it, weren't you? Rather than
Pretty
on it.
much, yeah. Yeah.
Well, you can still use a 2-finger hold down, but like I showed on the OnePlus, it doesn't work on the OnePlus. So some phones don't use that, but it's a legacy mode, and I don't want to see that go away.
I mean, the volume up and down is probably preferred, isn't it? Even though the other one is helpful, it's the one should work.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, if the 2-finger thing hadn't worked, I'd have known that I could do that.
Very
Oh,
true.
sorry. I quite like the Samsung TTS as well, the voice. I quite like it.
I
I don't
hate
use
both.
I
hate the
don't
Samsung
use it
TTS.
as I don't use it all the time, but I think it's a little bit more listenable than the Google one sometimes.
I like the UK male voice on Samsung TTS.
Oh, I haven't heard that one. I've heard
You
the
should
female.
you should hear that. I mean, it's real good.
I like the female one. I mean, it's not a voice I use all the time. I actually use vocalizer voices, which I know some of you don't like, but
But they will disappear.
will they?
Yeah.
I think so too. Well, there's not been any updates, in the way of updates from Vocalizer or the Code Factory guys. So I don't know. I've kind of lost,
being a
I lost faith
developer,
in those guys.
it
I don't
says-
use it anymore.
You need to update your app to compatible with Android 13, so they didn't. They will be going away very soon.
Oh yeah, that's if they haven't done that. Yeah, that would be annoying.
They only have to tweak that little thing though. There's an article about how to do that, isn't there? That's Bible Gateway
But
had that issue.
they don't even do that, Ed.
No, but just need to send them the link and they'll probably do it.
Acapella TTS did that, but no vocalizer.
Yeah.
Well, I have an a cappella voice as well, so if I get really stuck, I can use that. But I don't mind that. I've got the Samsung voice on my watch, and I don't mind that.
This is the Spotlight segment. Stay tuned for premium interviews, device unboxing and more.
And now we turn to our Spotlight section, and Warren reviews the phone he unboxed last week, and that's the OnePlus 10T.
Hi, Warren Carr here for Blind Android Users Podcast. This is reviewing the OnePlus 10T phone. During the unboxing of this phone, I had indicated that this was the very first for Blind Android Users Podcast, and in the same manner, this is the first time we will be reviewing a OnePlus device. So, for this review, I shall be looking at the following. 1. The setup screen, that is, we'll see what the setup screen looks like, and we'll go through that to where I input my username and password. 2. We'll look at the optional stuff that OnePlus brings us. 3. We'll look at the home screen and whether or not it supports the actions and all of that is after restoring my apps. 4. We'll take a look at the system settings and see what is different from the stock Android. 5. We'll look at the camera. 6. We'll do an audio check, that is looking at the microphone quality, and we'll use the HiQ MP3 recorder for this testing purpose. 7. We'll look at what happens after I update this to Android 13.0. And 8. It's the conclusion, talking about what I like and what I don't like. In my unboxing of the device, I had indicated that the battery came DOA, so I had recharged it, and now we'll turn it on and we'll look at the setup screen and proceed from there. I'll now hold down the power key and get started. I felt a little vibration and I'm waiting for it to come on. I am still waiting. I can see that I am now on the setup screen. Of course, unlike the Pixel phone where you feel that pulsating feel, this is not the case here. I would like to try the two methods of enabling accessibility. First, I'll put down my 2 fingers on the screen, and if I hear it say, keep holding your fingers to enable accessibility, then I'll let go. And then I will then hold the 2 volume keys down to enable the accessibility. I just wanted to make sure that it supports both. So now I'll put my 2 fingers down on the face of the screen. I am still holding, and this indicates that it does not support the 2-finger hold down, the legacy method. I will now let go and hold down the 2 volume keys instead. Here we go. I feel the vibration.
Press and hold both volume keys for 3 seconds to use TalkBack.
All right, let's do it.
TalkBack on. Held volume keys. TalkBack turned on. Welcome to TalkBack. Welcome to TalkBack, page 1 of 5. TalkBack is a screen reader intent.
There we are, and it does have proximity sensor because I just waved my hand over the proximity area near the top and it silenced TalkBack. Now I'm going to tap on the close button at the bottom.
Close button. Close tutorial. You can come back to it anytime in TalkBack settings.
And indeed, I do want to close.
Close button. Setup wizard. Hello.
And here we are on the setup wizard, which is basically typical of every Android phone. And here you have
English, United
things
States.
like the language
Double
selector.
tap to activate.
You tap there to select your language. Below that you have
Start
the
button.
start button.
Double
And
tap
then
to
below
activate.
that on the bottom right,
Vision settings.
you've got
Double
that
tap to
vision
activate.
settings. I will tap on that start button.
Start button. Setup wizard. OnePlus. Terms and conditions.
So the first thing we heard is the OnePlus terms and conditions. A little bit different than other devices that I've come across. And of course, like I said, this is our very first OnePlus device review. And so things are rather new here. Let's take a look though at what the terms and conditions, or some of the conditions about the terms and conditions.
Before starting, please read the terms and conditions carefully. Terms of service are the legal agreements between a service provider and a person who wants to use that service.
Okay.
Before starting, end user license agreement.
And
Double tap
I'm
to
just going to go
activate.
to the bottom and tap on the agree.
Agree button. Privacy policy and agreement. I agree to the terms of the privacy policy and end user license agreement.
Okay.
Privacy policy and agreement. Double
I
tap
keep
to
moving.
disagree button.
So disagree
Double
to
tap
the left.
Agree button.
Agree to the
Double
right
tap to
there.
activate. Connect to mobile network. If you have a SIM card, insert it now.
Now we hear it talking about a SIM card and asking if we do have a SIM card to insert it. However, I'm going to see if it supports eSIM, which is something that I use. I haven't been using a regular physical SIM card since 2018, and I'm not interested in phones that don't support that. So let's see what we got.
If you have a SIM card, skip button.
We got the
Double
skip,
tap
and I don't see anything to
back button. Window nav bar.
say, hey,
Double
you know,
tap to
download an
activate.
eSIM. So this tells me that the OnePlus 10T does not support eSIM. I'm going to tap on the skip since I do not have a physical SIM card.
Skip button. Window. Connect to Wi-Fi. Connect to Wi-Fi. Select a network in list.
And now I'm going to just tap on my Wi-Fi name and get going.
Connect to Wi-Fi. The mesh. Wi-Fi signal.
There we go. The mesh is my Wi-Fi.
Showing password keyboard. Wireless.
And
C. Out of list. Shift.
sure, of course,
1.
the typical of most recent Android phones, you can hear your password as you type. So I'm going to pause this recording and enter my information, then come back. And now let's double check to make sure that I'm connected.
the mesh, connected, Wi-Fi signal full, secure network.
And now I'm going to tap on the next button, usually at the bottom right.
Back, button, out of list.
Now putting my finger at the bottom right, instead I heard back. Let's check on the bottom left.
Setup offline, button, window.
So on the bottom left, we hear setup offline. So this is a little bit different. So I need to hit the back. Hope it doesn't take me out of the setup process.
Back, button, connect to mobile network. If you have a SIM card, insert it now.
We're back to the SIM card.
Skip, button.
And I'm going to skip again,
Connect to
see what
Wi-Fi.
happens.
Connecting. This may take a few minutes. Checking for updates. This may take a few minutes. Installing updates.
This is rather interesting. So I had to go back to the previous screen where it talks about the SIM card
Just a few
and
moments.
then
From the apps
tapping
and data, you
on
can choose to transfer.
the skip the SIM card, and then it takes me to where I was supposed to go. So it's a little
Data
bit
transfer,
different
available
when
or
it
in
comes
progress.
to the OnePlus. Something odd. I'd never seen that before. Anyway, so here we are on this screen.
You can choose to transfer your apps, photos, contacts, Google account, and more.
So I'm going to try to get it to connect to my account, or rather bring apps from my account. We'll check what we have at the bottom right.
Next, button.
Tap on next.
Use your old device. Next, button. Double tap to activate. Can't use old device, button.
I'm going to tap on
Double tap
can't
to
use
activate.
all device because I don't want to hook up any phones right now. I'm going to bring it from the cloud instead.
Restore data without old device.
And okay,
Okay.
everything is
sec.
similar here.
Account setup. Checking info. Heading. Sign in. Sign in with your Google account. Learn
So
more.
now I'm going to put in all of my information. I'm going to pause this so you're not bored by that process. I'm going to put all of my information in, and once I'm connected, I'll be right back. I just finished putting in all of my information and have gone through the biometrics and all of that. That is the PIN, the face unlock, and the fingerprint. I do want to mention here in passing that both the face unlock and the fingerprint were easy to set up just as much as the PIN was. However, I do want to say, though, that the fingerprint is not as verbose as what you have when using, say, a Pixel phone or a Samsung phone, where it tells you to move to either the right or the left or down to find the fingerprint reader. It's not the same here on OnePlus. It's not that verbose. So all I had to do was simply keep putting my finger, feel the vibration, lift, put it down, feel the vibration, and it didn't ask me to add another one once it got enrolling the finger. Now, let's move on to number 2. And this time we're talking about the optional stuff that comes from OnePlus.
Setup Wizard. Co-Creation Labs.
And I believe this is now coming from OnePlus. So let's read this context to see what it's all about.
Co-Creation Labs.
Co-Creation Labs. Let's read the context.
New continuous reading controls.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Participate in the OnePlus Co-Creation Labs to get the latest information and enhanced system experience. By joining, you agree to the terms and conditions. This feature can be disabled under settings greater than privacy greater than experience improvement programs. User Experience Program. Join the User Experience Program to create the finest product design and user experience. OnePlus will not use your information for personal identity recognition. You may choose to opt out of the program at any time. Service Messaging. Enable OnePlus service messaging to enjoy better cloud services by ensured data synchronization every second. You may disable at any time under settings greater than privacy greater than experience improvement programs greater than built-in app updates. Built-in apps. OnePlus will ensure you receive timely updates for all the built-in apps in your device, e.g., phone, contacts, settings, etc. Built-in apps will receive push app updates via improve app stability. You can disable at any time under settings greater than privacy greater than experience improvement programs greater than built-in app updates. Push notifications. For two-way communication, OnePlus may send surveys and product updates via push notifications. System Stability Program. Join the System Stability Program so OnePlus can continue to improve our products. Skip button. Agree button. Double tap to activate.
So there we go. Now, there are several things here that I wouldn't necessarily want to participate in. In other words, I would simply want to participate in things like the system updates and all of that, but all of that push notifications and messaging and all of that, whatever, I don't think I want to be part of that. So I'm going to see if these things are checkable, things that one can check, or things that, one has to agree to everything in one soup. I don't want to do that. Let's see.
User Experience Program. Join the User Experience Program to create the
I'm going to
finest
tap here and
product
see.
design. Setup Wizard. Navigate up.
I
button.
tap there
Double
and
tap to
it
activate.
opens up a window.
Join the User Experience Program to create the finest product design and user experience. OnePlus will not
Okay,
use your
let's see.
back button, window nav bar.
Okay, I don't see anything at the bottom here. Instead, it's just a back.
Setup Wizard. User Experience Program. Join the User Experience Program to create the finest service messaging. Enable OnePlus service messaging. Setup Wizard.
So
Navigate
when I
up.
tap on each of those, it just explains what it is. And my
OnePlus to deliver
expectation was that I should be seeing a checkbox to agree to some of these or not to agree to some of these. This is rather
back,
odd.
but
OnePlus, frankly, I don't like the experience that I'm seeing here because I need to be able to choose what I want and what I do not want. So at this point, I'll just have to tap on the agree or the next at the bottom. I have no way as to whether or not I am automatically entered into these things because there's no checkboxes.
agree button.
This is
Font
horrible.
and display size. Navigate up button.
All right, so
Double
here
tap
we
tap.
are.
Do you know the difference between font size and display size?
Yeah, I believe I do.
Font size only controls the size of the screen font. Display size controls the size of the font as well as other screen elements like images.
I do.
Sounds great. How does it work?
Okay.
Simply drag the sliders to adjust the font or display.
So all these are visual stuff. I'm just going to go to the bottom and continue.
Apply button.
All right.
Double tap to applying 3 period. Setup Wizard. Setup Wizard. Navigation style. Portrait. Setup Wizard. Navigation style.
So navigation style here, I think this has to do with system navigation, native navigation, whether you want the buttons, nav buttons and or gesture navigations. I believe that's what this is. Let's find the context.
Navigation style. Select your preferred navigation style.
Uh-huh.
Selected. Radio button. Double tap to activate.
You don't tell me what that radio button is.
Not selected. Radio button. Double tap to activate.
Interesting. Those things are not labeled.
Navigation gestures.
Okay, so we got below navigation gestures.
Back. Home. Recents.
Okay.
Learn gestures. Button. Next. Button.
I'm just going
Double
to tap the
tap.
second radio button. They're arranged side by side. And I believe the second
Not
one
selected.
here
Radio button.
that is not
Double
talking
tap to
as to whether it's
activate.
whatever, that should be the navigation gestures.
Selected. Setup Wizard. Navigation style.
Okay.
Next. Button.
I'm going to go
Double
next
tap
and
to
see what
Setup
happens.
Wizard. Setup complete.
I'm now being told that setup is complete.
Your OnePlus is now ready.
All right. I'm going to tab at the bottom.
Start. Button.
Start.
Device unlocked. System launcher. Unlabeled. You're this pinching hand close to being done. Finish setting up your phone with Google in a minute. Page 1 of 2. Unlabeled. Labels available. Use tap with 3 fingers to view. Labels available. Use tap with 3 fingers to view.
Already we're hearing something unlabeled. Number 3. we are now on the home screen. And I do want to mention here in passing that this comes with Android 12.2 because running out of the box, it's running Android 12. Therefore, actions are not supported. However, we'll see that the actions are supported later on after upgrading to Android 13. So all of my apps were brought from the restoration, and I had a total of like 16 or 18 home screens. So I'm not going to bore you with this, and we'll move on to number 4. Number 4, let's look at the system settings. So let's go open up the system settings.
Open settings. Button. Settings. Settings. Double
So
tap
here
to
I am
activate.
in the system settings. Let's go ahead though and take a look at the things that we come across here within the settings.
Settings. Search. Search.
So we got the search.
Log in with OnePlus account. Log in and link device in My Devices to get special Red Cable Club perks. In list.
Well, I'll be next.
Wi-Fi. The mesh. Mobile network. Bluetooth.
All
Off.
right.
Connection and sharing.
Connection and
tap
sharing.
Personalizations.
Next.
Home screen and lock screen.
Next.
Display and brightness.
All right.
Sound and vibration.
Sound and
Double
vibration.
tap. Notifications and status bar.
Next.
Password and security.
Next.
Privacy.
Privacy.
Safety and emergency.
Safety and emergency.
Battery.
Battery.
Double apps.
We got
Double tap.
apps.
Location.
Location.
Special features.
Special
Double
features.
tap
We're
to
going to come
activate.
back and look at what these special features are.
Digital well-being and parental controls. System settings.
All right.
About device. Users and accounts.
All right.
Google. Tips and support. Tips and support. In list. Window settings.
And I think
Double
that's the
tap to
last item there, tips and support. Indeed, that's the last one. So let's go back though and look
Google.
at the special
Double tap.
features.
Double tap tack. Special features.
Here's the special features.
Special features.
And putting my finger near the top, we've got
Quick launch. Access frequently used functions while unlocking your device. Double tap
that's
tack.
nice.
Split screen. Display 2 apps on the screen for easier multitasking. OnePlus shelf. Add widgets and get info on weather, steps taken, and more.
Okay.
Work-life balance. New. Strike the balance between your personal and professional life.
Okay.
Scout. Unlock a smarter search for in-depth results across apps.
Interesting.
Gestures and motions.
Then we
Double
got
tap to
gestures and
activate.
motion.
Screenshot. Screen recording. Double tap to activate.
There's screen recording and move down.
Home. Button.
That's
out
the
of
last item there.
Gestures and motions. Permission request. Allow gestures and motions to access your contacts. Out of list.
Tap allow.
Allow gestures and motions to make and manage phone calls. Allow. Button.
Yeah, I guess.
Gestures and motions. Navigate up. Button.
All right. So let's see
Double
what we
tap to
got.
activate. Screen off gestures. Use specified gestures on the screen for quick access when the screen is off. In list.
So you could turn this
Double
on
tap to activate.
and do gestures for either playing music. That's what that would entail.
Swipe down with 3 fingers to take screenshot. Take a screenshot. Checked. On. Switch.
So if you're using
Double tap to
TalkBack,
activate.
probably you want to turn this off, most especially if you happen to be one of those that would rather use the 3-finger gestures for changing the granularity. Next.
Touch and hold with 3 fingers to take screenshot. Take a partial or scrolling screenshot. Checked. On. Switch.
Okay.
Air gestures. Control your phone with hand gestures without touching the screen.
All right.
Motions. Heading. Raise to wake. Off. Switch.
I don't want that.
Lift to ear to answer calls. Off. Switch.
So you can lift it
Double
up to
tap
your
to
ear
activate.
to answer the call. If you like that, you turn it on.
Auto switch to receiver. Automatically switch to the receiver when you lift your phone to your ear. Off. Switch.
Okay. I'm
Double
thinking
tap
that
to
would be the
activate.
speaker mode or whatever.
Flip to mute incoming calls. Off. Switch. In list. Home.
And
Button.
that's
out
the
of
last
list.
one.
Window now
So I'm going to
bar.
go back.
Double tap. Overview. Button. Back. Button.
And it has
Double
the
tap to
overview
activate.
on the left, just like what Samsung does.
Special
And so
feature.
they call
Double
theirs
tap to activate.
overview instead of recents. So that's something to keep in mind. Number 5, the camera. And now let's tap on the camera here, and it's the second button from the right at the bottom of the screen.
Camera. Statement of use. Camera is an app that lets you take stunning photos and videos. For permissions that will be used by camera, refer to the privacy notice. Links available. Use tap with 3.
I'm going to
Agree and continue.
tap on agree at the bottom.
Camera requires the following permissions. Location info, to add location information to photos or videos, in list.
Okay.
Allow, button. Permission request. Allow camera to access this device's location. Allow camera to access this
While using the app. There we go.
Camera. Flash off, button.
All right. Now let's see if
Double
it tells
tap to
me
activate.
if it sees any faces in the view of the camera. Turning it on my face, and I don't hear anything. So definitely this is one of those things that you may want to use a third-party camera app like the Open Camera, for example. Number 6, audio check. In my review of testing the audio of the OnePlus 10T on both audio playback as well as audio recording, I find it to be satisfactory. For example, the audio sounds nice and crisp. It does not, however, have the boomy sound that we have come to know on Pixel phones. When it comes to audio recording, however, using my HiQ MP3 recorder, I realized that it sounds really good and a whole lot better than the Nothing phone. The Nothing phone 2 does not come anywhere close to the sound that the OnePlus 10T recorded. So when it comes to audio and recording, you are good with the OnePlus 10T. Number 7, software update. Upon updating the OnePlus 10T to Android 13, I realized that the behavior of the phone is absolutely different from what it was like when I took it out of the box running Android 12. No longer were those checkboxes not being read, but they were actually being read and heard clearly. So one could choose what they want to opt into, especially there on that screen of the setup with the optional stuff from OnePlus. Also, I realized that when I updated to TalkBack 14, the actions were there. So the home screen of the OnePlus supports actions. The one thing, though, I do want to mention here in passing that kind of irks me is the fact that you don't find a single space in between the items that you find like you would find on a Pixel, where you could easily find a home, so you could just use the actions there to go customize the home layout and all of that. You don't find that, and you have to go to a blank screen. And even when you go to a blank screen, it doesn't say home when you're touching an empty spot. So that will be a problem if you want to customize your home screen right there by simply using the TalkBack gestures. Another thing that I found using the OnePlus that really disturbs me is the fact that the gesture navigation to go back home, you have to swipe several times, and it just doesn't work most of the time at all. And I had to revert to using a TalkBack gesture to go home, something I have never done. I've always used native gestures, but for this one I had to, because I hated having to swipe up with 2 fingers several times just to go home. For some reason, going back, it works most of the time, but never the going home. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. Number 8, conclusion. In my conclusion about the OnePlus, all I can say is that it is a good device, that is the OnePlus 10T. Now, however, if you're not liking the color OS, because basically that's what it is. It's a color OS. And so things can be a little bit different, most especially that navigation, native navigation, system navigation to go back home is not behaving the way that it ought to. And so if you don't like that, you're probably not going to like the OnePlus operating system. Secondly, I also want to mention here in passing that while it is a great device, an absolutely beautiful device, that I would love to have it, for some reason, it did not support my Google Fi Wireless. I could not make nor receive calls. And while setting it up, it simply said some of the features are not going to be working with the device, and I may not be able to make calls. And sure enough, I was unable to make calls. Another thing is that it did not have eSIM support. So if you're like me and you like using eSIM cards or SIM cards that are not physical SIM cards, this is no-go for you. There's not a single OnePlus device that has eSIM support. Now, I'm not sure if the recent one, the OnePlus 11 or the upcoming OnePlus 12 will have it, but I know for certainty that there has never been a OnePlus device that supports eSIM. So those are the issues you need to think about if you're going to be going down the route of the OnePlus. Make sure that your network is going to be supported. I found an old Google Wireless Fi physical SIM card that's there in my drawer, and that's what I used it with, and it just did not work. I had to, at last, send the OnePlus back because even though I love the phone and would love to keep it as part of my museum, I could not in good faith keep it since it will not come in handy when I need it as a backup. Now, another thing to mention here in passing is the fact that if you turn off the always on display and all of that and everything having to do with the display, if you turn everything off, the fingerprint is not gonna activate when you touch where the fingerprint is. In other words, it's not like what you have on Samsung devices. So in order to be able to touch the screen and have it wake up to the fingerprint, you want to make sure that those things are not turned off. Now, I may be wrong, but it appears to me that some of these OnePlus phones are just Apple phones that got rebranded with the OnePlus logo, since they're now one and the same, hence the reason it runs that color OS, even though they still call it Oxygen, but frankly, it's basically the color OS. And then, in there, I also want to mention that the accessibility is also found in the additional settings and things like that. So it's a little bit different, and all those sounds, it reminds me so much of the back then, Samsung sounds when they were using the nature UX, that water drops and all of that. It reminds me so much of that, and a lot of it looks like the Samsung One UI with a little bit of a difference. So if you don't want to get a OnePlus phone, you could get an Apple and you'll be good. On the subject of responsiveness, I find the phone to be very responsive, running on that Qualcomm 8 Gen 1 Plus, and absolutely a beauty with that 16 gigs of RAM. So it's a great phone. If you want a phone for performance, this is the phone to get, and it will not disappoint you. I hope that you like this review of the OnePlus, and again, it's a great phone if you don't mind some of those minor issues that I have mentioned so far.
So pretty good phone then, Warren?
It is a good phone. Now, frankly, as I indicated in my review, it's a great phone with 16 gigs of RAM. I mean, it's a speed demon, so to speak. Great phone. However, some of the issues I've mentioned on there, for example, I'm an eSIMmer. I kind of like my eSIMs. And so it's not supporting that. OnePlus has never supported eSIM. I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, it's 2023. Come on, guys, give me a break. And still they're not doing that. So I'm just kind of like, hey, this is not for me. And even when I put in I found a physical SIM card from Google Fi, that was in my drawer. And I put it on, set it up, and it says, hey, some of the features on this phone may not work for you. You may not even be able to make calls in some places that you usually could. And sure enough, I tried to make a phone call, and no go. I had someone try to call me, no go. So I just had to send baby back home to mama. But it's a great phone. With that, color OS, they want to call it oxygen. It's no oxygen, it's color OS, but it looks so much like a Samsung UI in some ways. But it's a great phone. If you've been wanting to get an Apple, but you're not sure as to whether or not an Apple phone would be accessible, you can be rest assured that it would be, because the OnePlus and the Apple basically the same thing. So it's a great phone. I like the feel of it, and I put it in a case. Absolute beauty. It's absolutely wonderful looking phone. Feels so great, but I just had to send it back. It's a sad affair.
Was the problem with it to do with you being in the States, do you think? Because I know you have some funny mobile technology that nobody else has.
No, it would have worked with if I had like ATT, or it would have worked, but it's just because of Google Fi. Some phones are not working on Fi, and that's the reason why it did not work. But I'm optimistic. Had it been another carrier, it would have worked with no problem. I know that it's here on T-Mobile in the US. They're the only carrier that carries the OnePlus phones. And the funny thing is that, Google Fi actually runs on T-Mobile, and why it didn't work is beyond me.
Yeah, because like CDMA, I could understand it not working with Verizon, if it's a GSM phone, but yeah, that seems odd. Presumably if it was Google Fi, it would have worked, and not Google
Well, of course.
Fi.
Yeah, of course it would.
So I know if it were Fi, Fi, you would have made that thing work, right?
Of course, absolutely.
For a monthly fee, obviously. But,
absolutely, which you'd have to pay to me, obviously.
Oh yeah, the fee.
Yeah, of course, I have to pay that.
yeah, you would.
Thank you.
And am I right in thinking that OnePlus 10T doesn't have the slider switch? Is that right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have that slider.
It's
You remember
right?
we talked about it last week, and they were saying, "Oh, because wireless, whatever." They're liars.
So speaking of the speed, I can totally figure out how fast that phone is, even from the audio review that you talked about. And about the Oppo phones, there are a lot of Oppo users here in Turkey, and there are a lot of issues with especially notification shade. There are a lot of unlabeled buttons, especially if you want to toggle the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth and things like that. So I hope it's going to change.
Oh, no, that's not good. And the one thing that kind of bothers me too was the one I mentioned about the system navigation gestures. For example, just trying to go home, I have to swipe so many times. And even when I changed my launcher to the Ruthless Girl, it still did not work. And I'm like, there's no way under heaven. So I had to, for the very first time, use a screen reader-based gesture, something I never do.
Have you tried the clock app? It's totally inaccessible.
I didn't even bother with it because I was so pissed off.
That's really a trouble. You need to install a third-party clock app, because the native clock app on the ColorOS is not accessible.
I wonder with the home gestures whether a few system gestures conflicting. So I know it's not ColorOS, but on MIUI, I had to, in order to be able to type the letter L on the TalkBack Braille keyboard, I had to go and disable some
gestures. They have those gestures too, like 3 fingers, long press, or up and down. Yeah. You need to turn them off.
And I know that in ColorOS they have similar gestures.
So
I wonder whether there are any other 2-finger swipey uppy gestures that prevented, because obviously with the you take 1 finger off if you're a sighted user, so a 1 finger swipe up goes home. I wonder whether OnePlus had any conflicting gestures that you had to disable in order to get that to work.
I didn't see any conflict, but it's not that it doesn't work. You have to try so many times. It does work, but it doesn't work.
Eventually, did it?
Yeah, okay. It will work. But let's say, hey, I want to go home. I swipe it. It doesn't go. I have to swipe again and swipe again. And sometimes you're lucky. You try it once, it might, but it's just I don't want such inconsistency.
Oh well, no. What that is then, Warren? That's different because you've obviously had 10 pints. So when you go home first time, you end up in the kebab shop.
Yeah, exactly.
You
And I
buy-
want to eat something from
So
Sally's
so
house.
next
Oh,
next
yeah,
slide,
I want
next slide
that.
maybe
I
goes
want
home.
that.
Next slide maybe gets you kicked out the cab because you've been a naughty boy. So
I
it
guess
can
I
take a
was.
few times to get home. That can be it. That can be the problem.
Well, you could be on a pub crawl and enable the navigation bar before you get home.
Yeah.
You did.
Good one.
And I didn't like that navigation bar because it reminds me of old Sammy, where the overview is to the left. You know, everything they want
Well,
to
you
copy
can switch
Samsung
that.
in a way.
You can turn that around.
Yeah, I guess I could, but anyway, I don't use the nav bars. Rather, would
I
use
do.
the
I use
system
nav.
gesture. I don't.
Yeah.
I
Thing is,
like
for me, when I'm on pub crawl and I enable the navigation bar, I always want to hit the back button, not the home button.
Exactly.
Austin, you're a OnePlus man, aren't you? Or you used to be.
Yeah, even I was the OnePlus fan. Really, I used the OnePlus 6T device, and that time both the founders of OnePlus were in the company, and that OnePlus 6T and the OnePlus 7 Pro. These were the only two OnePlus devices I used, and both these devices they were made like a tank. Those phones were thicker, not the very thin phones of today, but they were slightly on the thicker side, but they could handle some really rough handling. Today, then, as the founders left, unfortunately, the company's downfall started slowly and now it is again stabilizing. But there are some problems. I don't know if the US people have the problem or other countries people have the country problem, but in India, there is a problem of green tint, that is green lines on the screen after the update, and OnePlus has told that there will be replacement of displays for free for lifetime on some devices. But then when they migrated to Color OS, a partner of Color and Oxygen OS, that time was the real deal breaker because for the OnePlus fans, OnePlus was known for Oxygen OS, which was really, really next to clean Android. And really, they had some nice customization, the shelf, and all those, and the alert slider. Who can forget that? But on some phones, they removed the alert slider, and I never really held any OnePlus device after OnePlus 7 Pro. That was a beast of the device. Both these OnePlus 60 and OnePlus 7 Pro will go down in history as my most favorite device after the Nokia 6600, the Symbian phone, not any smartphone that Nokia has launched or will launch with the same number, but the Symbian phone and the OnePlus devices are two devices that will go down in history as my favorite.
Coming up next, our app of the week, in which we show you how to use the app and review its accessibility. You can submit your recording for this segment. Email it to us at contactus@blindandroidusers.com.
And now we turn to our App of the Week section, where Mike Bernard shows us the new Nearby Share Windows app and how that works in conjunction with your Android phone to transfer files between your PC and your phone.
How you doing, everyone? It's Mike here with you with another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you a simple way that you can copy files from your computer to your phone or phone to computer without the need for your USB cable. Now, just as a refresher, the system requirements are Intel R A&M processor. You need Windows 10 or 11, 64-bit. And on the phone, you have to have Android version 6.0 or later. Now, when you're using nearby share with your phone and the computer. The two devices should be no further apart than 5 meters. And it's also a good idea if you use your existing Google account that you use on the phone. This helps when it comes to changing your settings and so forth. To download Nearby Share for the computer, you simply go to www.android.com/better-together/nearby-share-app. And you can download it there. You don't have to download it on the phone because Android comes with it automatically. As part of this process, we're going to have to use Bluetooth on the phone and the computer. So I'll show you how to turn those on. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to set up Nearby Share on the phone. And then we'll switch to the computer and I'll show you the layout over there. So now I'm going to unlock the phone.
441. Swipe with 2 fingers. Device unlocked. One UI home.
I'll turn that up a little bit. I'm using my Olympus to record this. So now we're going to go to the apps page. Now I'm using an older phone, so I'm not necessarily going to tell you how to get to things like the apps page and the settings page. I'll tell you in general to go to these places, but because our phones are likely to be set up slightly differently, you just do whatever you do to get to these places. So I'm going to go to my apps page.
App screen, page 1 of 4. Home screen, page 1 of 3 default page.
And now I'm going to swipe to the right until I get to settings.
Amazon, settings. Custom actions, swipe up and down to select.
And we'll double tap this.
With 2 fingers. Settings.
There we are. Here is where we will find an icon that may be labeled a little differently depending on your phone. We have to look for an icon called Google Settings. Now, on my Galaxy J3 Achieve here, it's called Google Settings. On my S10, it's called Google Services. Now, depending on how your phone is configured, it may be called one or the other. So once you get into settings, if you swipe to the right and you hear anything that says either Google Settings or Google Services, that's the right one. Just tap on Google Settings / Google Services. To get there, you just swipe to the right.
Setting, search, Google Settings. Double tap to activate.
Here we are.
Google account. Showing items 1 to 10 of 16.
Here we are in the Google Settings page. And now, once you get to the Google Settings / Google Services page, again, you swipe to the right until you hear an icon named Devices and Sharing.
Autofill, backup, devices and sharing.
There we
Double
are.
tap to activate.
Under this category is where we'll find Nearby Share. Now we double tap here.
Showing items 1 to 4 of 4.
And we swipe to the right again.
Devices, navigate up. Devices, Nearby Share. Double tap to activate.
And we double tap.
Nearby Share. Showing items 1 to 8 of 9.
Here is where we'll definitely find the Nearby Share icon. So now I'm going to swipe to the right.
Navigate up. Nearby Share. Off. Switch. Double tap to activate.
Now we have to turn this on.
On.
There it is. So now Nearby Share is on. We'll swipe to the right until we get to visibility.
Account and device. Mic B. Double tap to activate.
Alrighty. This is my account. That's why you heard the garbled speech. Let's continue swiping through this window.
Device name. Mike's phone. Double tap to activate.
It says double tap to activate because you could change the name of this.
Device visibility. Device is signed into can share with this device. Double tap to activate.
Now you can change the visibility. I'm going to go in here to show you what this looks like.
Device visibility. Visible to nearby devices. Double tap to activate.
This is visible to nearby devices.
On. Visible to nearby devices. Switch. Double tap to toggle.
Okay. Visible to nearby devices. So we're good to go here. And now I'm going to turn on Bluetooth. There's different ways to turn Bluetooth on. I could do that in the settings, but I'm going to tell Assistant to turn it on for me. Okay, Google, turn on Bluetooth.
Turning Bluetooth on. Google Assistant. Google Assistant. Showing items 1 to 3 of 14.
So now I'm going to put the phone down. Now I'm going to go to Nearby Share on the computer.
Blank. Title is Nearby.
Now I'm going to show you the layout of Nearby Share. This is the Windows-based version of the app. And it looks a little different, but it's very accessible. I'll go through these one at a time.
Support button. To activate, press spacebar.
This is the support button, and it's pretty obvious what you can find here. This is where you can get help articles, and there's a forum in there where you can ask questions.
Settings button.
Settings, this is where you can adjust the settings for the program itself.
Signed in as Mike B.
This is just a reminder letting you know that you're logged in as whatever you're logged in as.
Receive from your devices button.
This is set to receive from your devices. I've been messing around with this before recording this, but we're going to go in and change it in a minute.
Link settings.
And here's a settings link. This is where you can go in and turn on Bluetooth. You can also add a Bluetooth device.
Support button.
And then it wraps back around to support. Now, one thing I got to remind you about Bluetooth. When you connect to Bluetooth, there's a code that I'm going to have to type into the computer. And I guess it's a security thing, but you're only allowed so much time. I think they give you like 60 seconds or so to connect. So I'll have to do it rather quickly, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up on what's going on based on what my screen readers are saying. And then for good measure, for completeness, I'll go back and explain to you what I did. So now let's go back.
Settings button. Signed in as settings button.
To the settings button. Let's spacebar.
Space. Alert. Settings. Alert. Settings.
And here's where I can change my visibility.
Back button. To activate, press spacebar. Support button. Device name Mike's PC rename button. To activate, press spacebar.
This is just, the name of my PC for the program. I could change the name of this, but I'm not going to do that.
Save received files to C. Users MBER and downloads change button. To activate, press spacebar.
When I transfer a file from my phone to my computer, this is where it will go. And the same thing takes place in reverse. If I send a file from my computer to my phone, which is the point of today's tutorial, you will find that things go to the downloads folder as well.
Device visibility. Only devices nearby that are signed into can share with this device button. To activate, press spacebar.
This is where we have to change this.
Space. Alert. Device visibility. Alert. Device visibility. Back button. Support. Choose who can share with you your devices button. Back button. To activate, choose who can share with you your devices button. To activate, press spacebar. Space.
I hit spacebar on this. Now I can change it.
Everyone button. To activate, press spacebar.
Yes, for right now I want to set it to everyone.
Space. Choose who can share with you everyone button. To activate, press spacebar.
Oh yeah.
Use everyone mode temporarily for your privacy. Only your devices can share with you after a few minutes. Radio button checked. To change the selection, press up or down arrow.
Yeah, it will stay like that for a while and then it goes back to the way it was. This is to avoid anybody messing with your stuff.
Keep everyone mode on all the time. Radio button not checked. To change the
But if you're very confident and you know that everyone who shares stuff with you is legit, then you can turn it on where it stays on all the time.
Back button. To active.
I'll hit the back button.
Space. Alert. Settings. Send use. About nearby share. Send usage diagnostics data. Help improve nearby share by.
This is just an optional thing if you want to share information about the program to help them improve it.
About nearby share version 1.0.993.0 button. To activate, press spacebar.
This is to find out information about the program.
Back button. To space. Alert. Ready to receive. Alert. Ready to receive.
And now here we are at the main screen again. Now I'm going to tab to the settings link.
Signed in as received from link settings. Enter. Settings. Bluetooth other devices. Add Bluetooth or other device button. To activate, press spacebar.
And here's the button where you can add a device.
Bluetooth button. Off. To activate.
And here's where I have to turn on Bluetooth. I got to turn it on not only my phone, but also on my computer. Now I'll turn Bluetooth on.
Bluetooth button. Off. Space. On.
All right. And now I'm going to stay within this window. Now we're going to come to a list of available devices. My PC is going to be one of them. And you'll see this as well. With Bluetooth, there's going to be a code that I got to type in. And I have to do it fast, unfortunately. Hopefully I'll be able to do this so that you can see how this is done. Once that code comes up, you got to be like that. I think they give you 60 seconds, but you got to really do it quick. And I'm hoping that the appropriate dialogue will come up on the computer here so I can do this. Listen carefully.
Bluetooth other devices. Add Bluetooth or other device button. To activate, Bluetooth button. On. Add Bluetooth space. Device connection experience dialog. Wireless display or dock button. To activate, Bluetooth button. To activate, press spacebar. Space. Cancel button. List box. Galaxy J3 achieve. 1 of 3. Enter. Galaxy J3 achieve.
Bluetooth pairing
Press
request.
connected. The pin on Galaxy J3 achieve matches this 1875138. Connect cancel. Galaxy J3 achieve. 1 of 3. Selected. Connect button. Galaxy J3 achieve. Connect button. To activate,
Bluetooth
press
pairing
spacebar.
request. Passkey 807. Cancel. Okay. Bluetooth.
Connect button. Enter. Cancel button. To activate,
Showing
press
items 1 to
spacebar.
9 of
Cancel
9.
button. To activate, press spacebar. Done button. To activate, press spacebar. New notification from settings. Setting up a device. We are setting up Galaxy J3 achieve 1 of 1. Done button. Window. Device connection experience. Group. Your device is ready to go. Done button. Enter. Bluetooth other devices. Add Bluetooth or other device button. To activate, press spacebar.
Wow, how about that? It actually worked. I had to kind of jump around a little bit, but I finally got it working. All right, so what I did there was
New notification from settings. Device is ready. Galaxy J3 Achieve is set up and ready to go 1 of 1. Add Bluetooth or other Bluetooth button. On. To activate, press spacebar. Nearby share from Google. Blank. Select files button. Select folders button.
So yeah, I had to kind of feel around for the button. I didn't have to type the code in after all, even though it did give me one. But you may have heard Jaws say, make sure that the code on your machine matches what we gave you here. And I went to the phone, I swiped, and I found that it did match. And I hit the OK button over there. I hit the done button.
I actually meant to say connect button.
Here on the computer, and it did a setup process, and
Screen turned off.
here we are. And you just heard just a moment ago, the voice said, you are set up and ready to go. So now, every time I turn on Bluetooth, my computer is going to be seen as J3 achieved. So all I have to do is select that, and off you go. Sweet. What I'm going to do for you now is transfer a file from my PC to my phone, and then from my phone to my PC. I am in the
Title is Nearby Share.
the Nearby Share window. I'm going to tab until I get to Share File. First, we're going to do PC to phone. I'm going to tab until I get to Share Files.
Settings button. Signed in as Mike B. button. Receive from your devices button. To active, select files button. To activate,
Select Files. I'm going to hit the space bar.
Space. Open dialog.
I'm going to Shift Tab.
Today expanded. Audio message Nikit. One audio message M4A.
Audio message M4A. I'm going to hit the Tab key.
Header. Date modified split button. File name. Edit combo. One audio message M4A. Files of type. Open button.
Hit Open.
Enter. Alert. Looking for nearby devices. Alert. Mike's phone. Alert. Mike's phone.
And now it says Mike's phone, which is exactly where it's going to go. I'm going to Shift Tab.
Cancel button. To activate.
If I wanted to cancel this and not accept it, I could hit this.
Mike's phone graphic.
I'm going to hit spacebar on this.
Alert. Mike's phone. Connecting. Alert. Mike's phone. Sending.
Nearby
3.9
share.
kilobytes
Receive.
of 101.8 kilobytes bullet 0 BS. 24 hours left. Alert. Mike's phone. Sending. 3.9 kilobytes of 101.8 kilobytes bullet 0 BS. 24 hours left. Alert. Mike's phone. Send. Alert. Mike's phone. Send.
Yeah, this is Jaws, so there's a lot of babble. I don't know if you were able to hear my phone over here, but here's what it said.
Received from Mike's PC. First item, not in list.
Yep. So this is the window that you get when you receive something.
Received from Mike's PC. One audio message. M4A. Double tap to activate.
And that's the name of the file.
View downloads button. Double tap to activate.
If I want to view the download, I'd hit this.
Open button. Double tap to activate.
If I want to open the file, I'd hit this.
Open Button. Last item.
And this is
Double tap to activate.
This is the last option here. So I'm going to swipe to the left to hit view.
View one audio. View downloads. My files. Showing items 1 to 2 of 2. Navigate up. One audio message. M4A from downloaded by Nearby Share. August 21, 4:12 p.m. 102 kilobytes in list 2 items. Double tap to activate. Double tap and hold to long press.
And there it is.
Signed in as Mike B. Link learn more. Done button. To activate, press spacebar.
And now on the PC, I tab to the done button. It's spacebar.
Space. Alert. Ready to receive. Alert. Ready to receive.
And now it's ready to receive again. This time I'm going to go to the computer. The phone. Okay, Google. Open my files.
In list. 3 items.
New notification
Google
from
Assistant. Recent files. Double tap to activate.
Recent files. I'm going to go in here.
Recent files. Showing items 1 to 3 of 3.
And I'm going to try to find something in here.
Navigate. Audio message underscore 6000 under. Audio message underscore 6000 underscore 001 dot Omer. Last item. Row 2, column 2.
The thing about doing stuff on the phone sometimes, as you know, is sometimes you have to press and hold. And it's a little tricky for me. There we go. I don't know if you heard that, but when I pressed and hold on it, there was a little clicking noise. And that sound means that a dialog has opened, thus allowing me to share this file or do other things with it.
Move, not in grid. Double tap to activate.
Yep, I could move this.
Copy. Double tap to activate.
I could copy it.
Details. Double tap to activate.
I could get details about the file.
Share. Double tap to activate.
And I can share it. I'm going to do that, so I'll double tap on share.
Share. Showing items 1 to 5 of 6.
Now the share dialog is open. I'll swipe to the right.
Share. Nearby share. Double tap to activate.
I'll use nearby
Double tap
share.
and hold to long. Nearby share. Mike's PC. Nearby share.
It says Mike's PC. And that's just where we're going to send it.
Nearby share. Audio message underscore 6000 underscore 001 dot Omer.
And that's the name of the file I'm going to share.
Mike's PC.
We'll double tap here.
Mike's PC.
Alert. Mike's
PC.
phone. Connecting.
Mike B. Sent.
Alert. Mike's phone. Connecting. Alert. Mike's phone. Audio file received. Saved to C. Users MBERN downloads. Alert. Mike's phone. Audio file received. Saved to C. Users MBERN downloads.
And that sounds about right.
Done button.
And now I'm at the done button.
Done button. Dismiss button. Open button. Receive from your devices button. To activate, press spacebar.
Receive from your devices button. This is, again, a JAWS thing. It doesn't really put you where you're supposed to be put. But the button we want to look for is...
Open button. To act...
Okay, no, we don't want to open it.
Dismiss button.
Dismiss, if I didn't want to do anything with this. For example, if this came from somebody that I didn't know, I would hit this.
Done button. To
But I do know where it's coming from, so I'll just hit done.
enter. Receive from your devices button. To activate, press spacebar.
Now if I go to the downloads folder,
Search box. C. Enter. This PC. DDD. Downloads.
on the PC,
Enter. Downloads. Items view. Audio message 60001 AMR. 821. 2023. 4. 20 PM AMR file 1 kilobyte. 1 of 216.
And there it is. Now let's see how things look on the phone.
Done. Button. Double tap to activate.
Alrighty. Let's swipe to the left to see if there's anything we missed.
Mike's PC. Your laptop. Disabled.
This is grayed out because the file has already been sent. So now I'm going to swipe to the right to get to the Done button.
Done. Button. Double tap to activate.
And we'll double tap it.
My files.
And now we're back in My Files. Well, there you have it, folks. This is how you connect your phone to your PC and forward files in either direction, from PC to phone or phone to PC. And note that we did all of this with no cables connected. You can still use USB if you want to, but if you need to send something and using the USB cable is just not convenient, or maybe someone wants to send you something, if they have nearby share, they can send stuff to you that way as well. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next tutorial, whenever that is. Au revoir.
Anyone want to say anything about that particularly?
I want to say that the text version of these tutorials is available in Accessible Android. We posted it a few months ago, and it's a great addition to have this audio.
Nice. Did Mike do that? I mean, not for the podcast, but did Mike do that, Sally, or did someone else do it?
No, someone else did that from here, from Turkey, and we translated them to English.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Coming up next is the tip of the week. Stay tuned for tips, tricks and more about Android.
And we close this week with a tip of the week. And John Dyer shows you how to install the Google Assistant on a Galaxy Watch.
Hi, John here, and today I'm going to show you the quickest and easiest way that I know of to get Google Assistant up and running on your Samsung Watch. And ironically enough, that is by using Bixby. So I already have my watch here set up, connected to my phone. Press and hold the home key. Download Google Assistant.
Assistant. Google Assistant.
And that brings up this, and I'm going to swipe to
Get started.
Get started and double tap it.
Continue on your phone.
Google. Just a sec. Heading. Set up Google Assistant. Heading.
And then this just popped up on my phone.
Use your voice to send text, manage your day, and get quick answers on your watch. Send messages, get quick answers and updates. Manage your... You can turn off Assistant anytime in your settings. No thanks. Button. Set up. Button.
Set up.
Just a sec. Heading.
Assistant.
Just a sec.
Hi.
Voice match enrollment. Access your assistant with Hey Google. Heading.
Now I'm going to find...
Assistant may activate when you didn't intend it to, for instance, when there is a noise that sounds like Hey Google. Skip. Button.
I'm going to hit skip because I don't want it to be activated with the wake word.
Google. Talk to your assistant with a button. Heading. Get right to your assistant from your watch's home key. Set this up in your watch's settings or in the Galaxy Wear app on your phone. Web fragment. Next. Button.
I'm going to hit next.
Your assistant is set up. Heading.
My assistant is set up.
Try saying things like, OK. Button.
I'm just going to hit OK at the bottom right.
Google search. Button.
And you're done. Now, if you want to assign it to a button, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm just going to open Galaxy Wearables. Open Galaxy Wearables.
Untitled. Home. Smart Things. Smart Things is running. Galaxy Watch.
Then I'm going to find
watch settings, notifications, display, health, wallet.
Watch settings.
Watch settings. Navigate up, button.
Gonna go down to advanced.
Advanced features, home button, gestures. Advanced features. Navigate up, button.
And
advanced features. Search button. Disconnection alerts, none. Get alerts when your watch loses its Bluetooth. Home button.
Under the home button heading,
Double press, go to most recent app.
you can change,
Press and hold, Bixby.
press and hold from Bixby to Google Assistant if you want to, but I want to leave that as Bixby and
Double press,
change
go to most recent app.
double press
Double
to
press.
Google Assistant.
Navigate up, button. Double press. Features. Go to most recent app. Accessibility shortcuts. My exercises. Apps. Alarm. Assistant. Not selected.
So I'm just going to select Assistant.
Advanced features. Navigate up, button.
I'm going to close my phone.
Screen off.
So you could do that. You can set that setting from either on the phone or on the watch. I just did it on the phone. Now I'm going to turn on my watch screen
2:33 p.m.
and just double press. What's the weather?
Right now in Chesapeake, it's 80 degrees and partly cloudy. Today, it'll be mostly sunny, with a forecasted high of 80 and a low of 66.
So as you can see, just like that, Google Assistant is up and running. I hope that's been helpful to you.
I think the main comment to make about this is that you actually have to install Google Assistant on a Galaxy Watch. Like, why isn't it on it anyway? Don't you think, Warren?
Samsung is being stupid. Like I said, they're the big boys in the room and they do whatever they feel like doing. I thought that, after the Galaxy Watch 4 and it didn't come with it, took it like almost a year for Assistant to finally come to it. One would think that by now it should just come built in, but I'm surprised that even with the Galaxy Watch 6, one still has to go install it. That is absolute stupidity on the part of Samsung. Samsung, if you're hearing BAU, clean up, man.
And I mean,
It's not very difficult though.
No, but still, it should be on it, shouldn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like I mean, I look at it going, I keep Bixby on the watch only because there's certain features that it integrates with, like with Samsung Health and stuff like that. But if I could, I'd rather have Google, my default assistant, if only it would integrate with Samsung Health so it could actually start my workouts and stuff like that. So it's like, why do we have to have two different assistants on the same device to get the same stuff done? It just does not make any sense to me. Like,
it's a bit silly.
Keep it consistent. Like, put Google on, get rid of Bixby. Let's face it, everybody hates Bixby.
I don't mind Bixby routines. I use Bixby routines, but
I can get behind those. But
Cam, the problem is Samsung is like, they feel like we're big players in Android and we want to have our own signature on. And this is why we still have this problem of, Samsung TalkBack versus Google TalkBack. By golly, Samsung, just put accessibility stuff, just use the one from Google, especially the screen reader, and just call it good.
But like, it doesn't make any sense why we're in this position continuously when TalkBack with Google and TalkBack and Samsung are literally being made as a joint process. It doesn't make sense why TalkBack is now still completely separate versions with the two, basically with Google and Samsung, yet they're the same damn program. It doesn't make any sense. Why do we keep going back in this continuous circle?
Yeah, I mean, at least like, when we had Voice Assistant, you could just swap between them and go, okay, this is TalkBack from Google, and that's the other. You can't even swap between them now, which is really annoying.
All good things must end. Thus, it's curtain drawing time, bringing us to the close of this week's episode. Coming up, though, we give you information on how to get hold of us.
And that brings us to the end of the episode for this week, folks. Austin, how do people get in touch with us?
To contact us, you can send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. You can join a mailing list by sending an email to Blind Android Users plus subscribe at groups.io. You can join our Telegram, Facebook, Discord, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The links for everything will be at the bottom of the show notes and also in the video description of the YouTube channel. And also the links are in the websites panel of the YouTube channels.
Well, thank you very much for listening. Say bye-bye to the nice people. Sally.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
You're
nice
not
people.
Sally.
Bye,
Yeah,
nice
you're
people.
Oh, sorry.
taking my place. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. We love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.